Now, on to Shedeur Sanders, the topic of conversation. Everybody, one of the worst games he's played. Obviously, he hasn't had a ton of games as a pro, but had a rough game. Took some bad sacks, and it's created a incredible discourse online. You're either on one side of the fence or the other. You're saying he didn't get a fair shake of it, or you're saying he played behind the same offensive line that Huntley played behind, who led a 2-minute drive for the game-winning touchdown, et cetera, et cetera. I think it's somewhere in the middle, as always. I think he can be a good quarterback. He's a rookie. Um, he's going to learn. Now, you can't make those plays that you did in college. You can't take those sacks. Um, as Fitz and Witt always inform me and educate me, because I'm a defensive player, so I'm not thinking about the way a quarterback is maneuvering to make sure he's not throwing incompletions, or how the sacks that they're taking is affecting the offensive line but not affecting his QBR and completion percentage, et cetera, et cetera. He's going to have to get over that. And I think he's trying to make sure the numbers look like they're supposed to look like. But this is the National Football League. Let the ball go, live to fight another down, save the yards. And I think that's going to be the learning curve for him going forward, is that, hey, you can't protect your completion percentage and all that way. You're not going to be able to do it. If they get to you quick, you're going to have to let it go. You're going to have to dirt the ball, and you're going to have to get us to the next play. It can't be 2nd and 25 and think, oh, man, we're going to keep taking second and 25s and try to dig ourselves out of the hole. But you've gone 8 for 10 for 140 yards and 2 touchdowns. At times, it's going to look worse than that. At times, it's going to look like you're going to be 8 for 19 for 140 yards, and 4 or 5 of those are going to be throwaways because the pressure got there. You had nowhere to go with the ball. You got quick pressure, and you had to dead the ball. Like, people understand that. They're watching the games. That would come off better than taking these sacks. But that's something a young quarterback's going to learn. He played really well in his first start, had a rough outing in his second start. It's football. Unfortunately, we won't get to see him again unless something drastic happens until next year. That's the life of a backup quarterback in the National Football League. There are only 32 starters at the position, and he's behind multiple guys. Joe Flacco stays relatively healthy, and he's playing really good football. He's a good quarterback. If he was playing behind a rookie or a guy who doesn't have a lot of experience, a guy who has a short leash, then there's a chance that they would rep him in practice. He'd get to develop throughout the season, getting, a few reps with the starters here and there. Obviously, the starting quarterbacks get majority of the reps. The backups usually do the scout team. But the Browns keeping 4 quarterbacks would be head-scratching, because there's only a limited amount of spots in the NFL. And having 3 guys who aren't contributing on game day on your roster, on your active roster, when you have got, offensive line issues where offensive linemen, defensive linemen get banged up, and you got to have another guy on the bench that can come in and play. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to do that. I think this is going to be the position. This is the point we've been waiting for, to see what they do with Shedeur Sanders, whether they trade him, whether they cut him, because keeping Ford is a head-scratching decision. Even nowadays, keeping 3 active is a head scratcher for a lot of teams, because roster spots are so valuable. So everybody has to be a contributor, whether it's on special teams, whether it's an offensive, defensive. You may be the 6th receiver and you're the punt returner, kick returner. Like, you have to have a role that you play and impact. A 4th string quarterback being on the active roster, it's nothing to say about Shedeur. It just doesn't make roster sense in the NFL. It does not make sense. That's why they don't do it. Those are the practice squad quarterbacks who play the scout team. And usually still you don't keep 4, you keep 3. So this is new. This is interesting. I would think they would move him, get the draft pick, send him somewhere who would value him and need him more than you would need him. Obviously, you feel good with Kenny Pickett, Dillon, Gabriel. That's what I've heard. That's the way the depth chart says. I think they should move him somewhere. I think the Saints would be a good landing spot. I think the Las Vegas Raiders, obviously, they're looking for a veteran backup, but that would give him a chance to develop under Pete Carroll and his staff. I think there are a few destinations that make sense for a rookie. Pittsburgh, a guy, he could go in there and learn from Aaron Rodgers, develop behind him, learn that offense. Great coach in Tomlin. But I think you got to move him. I think it's becoming too much of a distraction in Cleveland, and that's what a big-name quarterback is going to do. When you drafted him, you knew the name, you knew the acclaim, you knew the hype that comes with him, the crowd, the fanfare. And now Kevin Stefanski is having to answer questions, real-life questions, each and every press conference about a fourth-string quarterback. Like, that's the kind of energy and attention and headlines that Shedeur Sanders, he's Deion Sanders' son. He's a quarterback. It's going to be an issue. And that's what any other team is going to have to be willing to take on if they trade for him. But there are teams where he would be competitive, and I think he could help. I think the Saints are one of them. You got a young quarterback who's inexperienced. Can you develop him? Is there a quarterback competition that could develop there? I'm sure there is. I thought they would draft him in the beginning. But I don't think it's a good idea for the Browns to keep him as a fourth-string quarterback on the active roster when you have so many other holes that you need to fill when filling out a game day roster, especially your first 53. And if you cut him, I think one of these teams just picks him up on waivers and you don't see him again. Like, there's no way he's in my opinion, but I also didn't see him going in the fifth round of the NFL draft. But I don't think there's a way he makes it through waivers and he comes back to you on practice squad. That'd be really surprising. If that happens, then they knew something that we didn't, and good job on the Browns and great decisions, and it makes sense. But I don't think he makes it through waivers. I think there are teams that would poach him and do exactly what I said. He'd be on their practice squad or on their active roster. So I'm interested to see how that goes. There are people making a lot of noise about the offensive line he played against. Play behind. This is the NFL. That's what happens. These guys at the end of a preseason, the third preseason game, these are likely the guys that are getting cut. Most of these guys, unless somebody does something incredible, there are receivers you can go for 200 yards and you're probably still getting cut. The decisions are likely already made. These are just guys getting a chance to put things on tape. Audition for the other 31 teams that could potentially pick you up after you get cut, whether it's practice squad or active roster. It's an audition, but it's not like this is something really crazy. And I know people are like, man, he set him up for failure. I didn't understand not allowing him to do the 2-minute drill. I think that just might have been their rotation. They had a certain amount of plays that they wanted him to do. Then they wanted to give Huntley an opportunity before they cut him the next day. Those are things that wouldn't look as unusual in another situation, but look unusual in this situation because of all the attention on Shedeur. I think Shedeur is going to be successful in NFL. I think when you put him behind an offensive line that isn't very good and he gets early pressure in his rookie year, it's going to be tough. He's out there with third-string receivers. It's going to be tough, but I don't think that's an indication of where his career is going to trend or where he's going to go. I think that's just a rookie dealing with rough circumstances. He'll continue to develop something he'll learn from, watch the tape, and improve. You got to throw the ball away. You got to get rid of it. You can't take those sacks. It's not hard to understand for me or anybody else.